welcome to another video. You guys, I disappeared for another 6 months. Sorry about that. I did have videos planned for the new year and I did record them and they're ready to go. I just have to edit them. But I have just not been doing that, so sorry about that. Hopefully I will have this video edited soon enough. Hopefully. So yeah, I have another sketchbook tour. This sketchbook took me a while to finish. I kind of went through a drawing slump for a while there, but I reinvigorated my want to draw, and so yeah, I finished this one up. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. I'll talk about it a little bit more when we actually get through the sketchbook tour. So yeah, this is my sketchbook. This is an ELO 10 by 10. I would say this is probably my preferred size of sketchbook and shape. I really like square sketchbooks, and I feel like they're very conducive to making comics, at least for me. I just feel like it's like a lot of space, especially when it's a 10 by 10. The 8 by 8 is good too, but I feel like I draw a bit bigger, so it's a little bit harder for me to contain my little sketchy comics in the pages of an 8 by 8. But I think 10 by 10 is like probably my favorite layout for sketchbooks. Unfortunately, I have like 12 other sketchbooks I have to get through that are not 10 by 10s. So that's gonna be hard for me, but that's okay. I think after I finish all of those, I'll just stick with 10 by 10s from now on. Now that I know that this is my definitive sketchbook size. I'll just go ahead and go through the stickers on here, I guess. I'm not really a sticker girly, I'll be honest, you guys. I don't super love stickers, and I never really have. Also, I really have like a big fear of using stickers up, and so I just want to like keep them forever, and I feel like putting them on things kind of sucks, and I feel like it's gonna ruin the sticker. But I was like, you know what? We're just gonna put it on there. We're gonna stop being afraid of using stickers. So these 4 stickers, I don't know where they came from. I just got these from a kid at work, and so I just put them on here. These stickers are from a box my sister got me for Christmas with a book. It was like a book box, and so it had a book in there, and it also had these stickers in there. This stickers is from the D and Dad's Patreon when I was subscribed to them. I'm not subscribed to them anymore. Not for any particular reason. I just, after the first season fell off, I tried to watch season 2 or listen to season 2, and it wasn't really my cup of tea, so I just kind of fell off at that point. This is a One Piece sticker from when the One Piece film Red came out. My sister got me this sticker. It's actually a full poster because they had like at the movie theater or something. I did not watch that movie in theaters, I don't think. No, I didn't. It was a good movie though, but I did not watch it in theaters. But so my sister got me this sticker. This sticker is from Fountain Pen Revolution because I got super into fountain pens, and so I bought a lot of fountain pen stuff, which I'll talk about later in the sketchbook tour. This is also from a fountain pen shop called Bottle and Plume. I don't know where the sticker is exactly from, but that's where I got it from. This is a life illustration sticker. It's holographic. I would show you guys. So is the Fountain Pen Revolution one. You can kind of see it. Hopefully you can see that on camera. These stickers are from a manhwa. It's a pretty popular one. I can't remember the name of it now. I'm blanking so hard. But it is a BL, so before you go looking for the characters, be aware of that. Anyway, I think that's all the stickers I have on here. Yes. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so I started this sketchbook in July 2025, and I just finished it March 19th, 2026. I still wanted to draw in this sketchbook, so I drew a little me being horrified that it took 8 months. 8 months is not a long time to finish a sketchbook, you guys. It's just kind of a long time for me. Usually I like to keep between 4 and 6 months for a sketchbook, but this one's taking me a little bit longer. Like I said, I did have a bit of a slump in here, so that's why I'm like, 8 whole months? But that's really not a long time. I've had sketchbooks that I'm still working on for like 2-3 years. My car sketchbook I've been working on since 2024, so this is just a long time for like my main sketchbook that I like keep on me all the time. Alrighty, the first page is drawings of Nick. You guys, Nick is one of my OCs. He is the future head of a mafia family, and he is engaged to Kira, who is also who was the future head of a mafia family, but now she is engaged to Nick, even though it's like a whole thing. I'll get into like the plot of my stories later. But anyway, the point is he's the future head of a mafia family, and she's his future wife in an arranged marriage, and neither of them are happy about it. And for a long time, I have not been happy with Nick's design. And so this first page, I was trying to come up with new designs for him, and this is kind of the one I settled on, but I hate it. I hate it so much, you guys. It's okay because I keep working on it through the sketchbook, and now we finally have the design that I actually like a lot. So you guys are gonna see that later in the sketchbook. But as of right now, this is what he looked like. So I drew him with Kira. This is just a redraw of a comic that I've done of them several times now, but what their designs were at this point. Again, I even keep working on Kira's design throughout this sketchbook, and eventually she also gets to a place that I really prefer. But yeah, so this is just more of that comic. Me just trying to get used to what he looks like. Like I said, I don't really stay with this design at all. Really. Yeah, so this is swatches of some new markers that I got. I do not remember what these are because, you guys, I literally bought so many markers and pens throughout this sketchbook. It's basically just like a book that I used for swatching because I bought so much shit. In 2025, I was on a no buy or a low buy, basically. I was like, I'm not buying any new art supplies, and I stuck to that pretty well for 2025. And then 2026 hit, the new year started, and I was like, I'm not on a low buy any this year, so I'm gonna go fucking crazy. And I went absolutely crazy, you guys. I spent so much money on so much shit, so now I'm back to my low buy because I wasted so much money on stuff that I didn't need. But basically all that is to say that I bought a lot of new markers, and so you're gonna see them in this sketchbook tour. Yeah, some drawings. I'm still trying to figure out what I want Nick to look like. This is a drawing of Junebug, which is one of my other OCs. She exists in this weird quasi place that I have between wanting it to be a college story and wanting it to be a werewolf story. So I don't know what I'm doing with that one right now. This is a drawing of my OC Scum. Her name is Scum because of convoluted reasons. So basically she's a serial killer who lives with other serial killers and they all think the other ones suck. Alrighty, another drawing of Scum, another drawing of Junebug, Kira, Junebug. This is just a random elf lady that I drew. I just thought she was cute. She is cute. I think her eyes were really big and really bug-eyed. And you guys know I love a bug-eyed girl. These are some drawings of Virgil / Anxiety from Sandersides. Around this time, I was getting back into Sandersides. I watched all the videos again. And so I was like, oh, I'll draw all the guys from Sandersides. But then I stopped watching I finished all the videos, so I kind of lost interest. So I did this one for Virgil. I was trying to come up with a design for him that I like. Still not super sold on it, but I do like the sort of emo haircut. I feel like if Sandersides was animated, it would be a little bit more fun to like draw the aspects of Thomas because you could really get like weird with it, and they didn't all have to like look the same as him. And so I gave him like some spiky teeth, some piercings, and like I said, that emo haircut, so they could still look like Thomas, but they could be like a little bit more distinct, I feel like, if they were animated. But I feel like that about all of the shows where it's like one guy playing all the characters. I love YouTube skits where it's like one guy playing all of the characters and they come up with lore. I just like that stuff. So I think that's fun, but I also think that it would be really great for animation. I just think the possibilities, they're so ripe. Anyway, so I got to Patton / Morality. I drew some of him. I made sure that his shapes were pretty round and friendly and stuff like that. And then I got to Logan / Logic, and I lost steam, and so I didn't finish his, but I was going to plan to make him very sharp. I gave him the shaved head look that Thomas had. I felt like it would make sense if all of the different Sandersides had like different faces of like Thomas's haircuts and stuff, and so he has the shaved head because I felt like that was very serious, very business-like. That's as far as I got. I wanted to complete this one, but I lost steam. And so I had other pages blocked out, but then I ended up using them for swatches. So as I was saying, you guys, I got super into fountain pens after Christmas. Around December, around the last week of December, I didn't buy my first fountain pen because I already had a fountain pen, which was the Platinum Preppy, but I was like getting a lot of fountain pen propaganda served to me on YouTube and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll just buy a fountain pen, see what it's like. So the first fountain pen that I bought that cost a little bit more than a Preppy, which is like $5 to $7, was a Twisby. I bought a Twisby in Amazonite in a medium, and I thought it was really nice. And then I just went crazy and I bought like, honestly, like 30 fountain pens. But anyway, that happens to me sometimes. I get into a hobby and I like invest a lot of time and money into it, and then I'm like, oh, this is costing me way too much money, so I back off. That happened to me with computer keyboards. I got super into keyboards and modding keyboards, and then I was like, I have to stop because I don't know if you guys know this, but modding keyboards is very expensive. It's less expensive now, oddly, even though everything else is more expensive, but modding keyboards is a lot more accessible now. When I was doing it like 3-4 years ago, it was crazy expensive, and now it's not so much, but I'm still trying to stay away from modding keyboards and keyboard content because it's still pretty expensive. And now I'm trying to like ease up on the fountain pen stuff because also it's incredibly expensive. But I wanted to try different inks because I was like, when I was buying the inks for myself, I just wanted to get like inks for like drawing, so I just got like basic colors of the rainbow, but I didn't know like about different ink properties and stuff, so I bought random ink samples from a couple of different vendors. And you guys, I would say don't buy random ink samples if you're getting into fountain pens. I feel like it's kind of a waste of money if you're, well, here's the thing, if you're just trying to get any sort of like random ink, I guess it's fine. But when I was buying them, I was like kind of wanted to try out inks with different properties, because I like, if it's truly random, I'll get some of like other ones, right? But I feel like the companies that I bought them from, I don't want to like bash anybody, because I feel like this is probably the standard across all random ink samples, is that they just give you like the inks that they are trying to get rid of, or like they mostly just give you standard inks. And so when I did them, I got like literally almost all of them were standard inks except for two. And this is from two different companies, and so like this one was all standard inks except for one, and then this one was all standard inks except for one. And so I was like, okay, I feel like I'm not gonna buy them anymore, because I don't really want samples of standard inks. I want like cool inks with like shimmer or sheen or something like that, right? And so I feel like it's better just to buy those yourself, like buy small samples instead of random samples. And so I feel like I would recommend don't buy random ink samples. I think that they're kind of a waste of money in my personal opinion, but you guys do what you want, right? This is a bunch of different ink. Like in this one, this is all like the same order that I got it in, and they sent me 3 blues, like almost the same blues. Okay, that is technically random, but I was like, come on guys, what are we doing here? This is a bunch of different fountain pen inks. Like I said, most of these are standard inks. This one is a sheener, which it basically means it shifts from purple to green with like this metallic effect. I like inks that are like that. I think that's fun. I'm gonna try to see if I can show you guys how it's like kind of shiny. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then, so I sampled all of them. I tested them all out to see which color I like best. And then the big drawing is the one that I like the best from like the collective. And so this one is more ink samples, lots of different colors. The one I preferred from this was this one, which is, it's purple, but it's got like green shimmer. And so I don't know if you guys can see it on camera again. These are kind of hard things to pick up on camera, but it's like got little glitter particles in it. I think it's cute. Anyway. Some more ink. These are not samples. I bought bottles of these, and I do like these for the most part, but this was before I knew that you could just like buy samples of ink from different websites. This is like before I got like super into fountain pens. I might make a fountain pen video and talk about like resources and websites I found, just because when I got into it, I was like, I don't know what's going on, and I feel like I kind of wasted a lot of money. But I'll think about that. Anyway, more fountain pen inks. I have a couple of sheeners on here, and a lot more with shimmer, which is basically just like glitter. I don't know if you guys can see like the shifting properties. And then these two are my favorite. This one is technically, it's called a shading ink, and it's like a chroma shader where it shades different colors, where it's like shifts to different colors. So this one is blue and green, and then this one is a sheener where it's green and it sheens to pink. I thought that was cute. Anyway, I just use Kira as my sample person because I know how to draw Kira. I just draw Kira all the time. So whenever I need to test out a sample, I draw Kira. A couple more drawings of anxiety, a random lady. This is drawing. Oh, these were also done. Sorry, I forgot. These were also done after the fact. I finished like the rest of the sketchbook, and then I like went back and added these to the pages that I was gonna use for the sander sides. So yeah, that's why it's like, even though I've gotten into fountain pens later in the sketchbook, like I said, the beginning is from July. Like halfway through the sketchbook is December when I got into fountain pens. So this is all stuff from December. Back to July. This is more anxiety from sander sides, a random lady, a random Kira, some drawings of Scum. This was a drawing of my persona once I was trying to figure out what color scheme I wanted her to have, and I hated this one. Eventually I'm going to figure out what I want her to look like, you guys. I still am not super 100% on that. But yeah, so that's what she was looking like at this point in time. More swatches. These are swatches of mild liners. I got into mild liners. I was always seeing people on the internet like, mild liners are so great. And so I was like, okay, I'll get some. And I still 100% don't really get the hype. But you know what? They're fine. So I drew some of my OCs with them. This is Yaya, this is Genesis, and this is Aaron. They're part of the same mafia story that Nick and Kira are. They are part of a rival mafia family who started off as a gang. They deposed another mafia, and now they are the new mafia in town, basically. They're cool. I like them. They all are supposed to have a bit more alternative fashion styles, and so I don't really know if Yaya fits that. Aaron doesn't fit that on purpose. That's like a character design choice. It's like goes with his backstory or whatever. I feel like Genesis does okay, but Yaya, I feel like I need to do a little bit more work on her. But I still like her. I think she's cute. A little drawing of them together. Another drawing of Yaya. I got more pens that I needed to test out. I drew my persona because I was still trying to make myself like my persona. it wasn't really super working out. But yeah, still trying to draw my persona, and so I bought more pens, and so I used her as the swatch test, drawing of Hope and a bunny outfit. You guys know me by this point. Another drawing of Hope. This is Hope as a little kid, and then Hope as an adult. More drawings of Hope in a bunny outfit. I like this one. I feel like the perspective is kind of fucked up, but I really like his tiny little legs. They're so funny. More pens that I bought to test out. More swatches, I mean. These are cute. I like the milk green one here. I think that's a cute color. I really don't like this Pickles one, which is why I drew him throwing up, because I think that pen is ugly. But I'm stuck with it now. I'm drawing up some OCs. They're like the basis of a lot of other OCs that I have, but I don't like the way that they look here. And also, she's way too short. Like, ew, gross, way too short. Anyway, more pens that I bought. This is when I first starting to get into fountain pens. So, like, 3 of these are fountain pens. And I was like, oh, these are nice. And then it just started me down a really big rabbit hole. I used Hope for the swatches for this one. This was another drawing that I'm trying to figure out what I want Nick to look like, but it sucks and I hated it. Another drawing of Hope, but he's a big boy right there. I think I like the way he looks here a lot, actually. I like his outfit. I always like the little hip cutouts. I think they're cute. More drawings of that persona. Still trying to figure out what I want it to look like. Some drawings of James. I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but I don't even know if I'm going to write this story, but James and Hope exist in a story where there's a bunch of people with a bunch of different plot lines. Like, Hope is a demon. They have a coworker who was part of a mafia family. They have other coworkers who are international spies, and another coworker who's an alien. And then they have regular customers who are superheroes. And so it's like a very big genre thing that I'm doing. And so I was like, for a long time, I wanted James to just be like a regular guy. And so he was like, why are all these people like fantastical creatures or spies or random murderers? You know what I mean? And so eventually I felt like after the whole point of the story is that James kind of helps people with these situations, and he like helping them have their character development, and he like kind of stays the same throughout the story pretty much. But at the end, it's revealed that James is actually a piano prodigy who had to give up his dreams of the piano because something happened to him. And so he like lost his whole family because they put like so much stock in him being a piano prodigy and like being the next like renowned piano player or whatever. And they put like a lot of pressure on him, and then eventually they disown him, and he has to like put himself through college, and that's why he works there. And I'm not even entirely sure if I still want that to be the thing. And then at the end, everybody was supposed to help him relive his dream of being able to do piano, or help him move on from all of that pain from having to give up the piano and be able to find his love for the piano again, maybe just even as a hobbyist, because he did love to play the piano. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep that. I feel like it's a nice story, but like I said, I'm not even sure if I'm ever gonna write this story, which is why I don't really mind giving you guys those spoilers. But yeah, this is him playing the piano. Then him like he sort of like kind of fell out of love with the piano also before his like accident or whatever. And so like he's happy as a kid playing the piano, then when he grows up he's like dead inside because all of his love for the piano was stripped away from him. Anyway, this is them kissing. Yeah, this is just Hope and James doing like cutesy things. I realized I've never drawn them kissing before, so I wanted to draw them kissing, and I'm embarrassed. Anyway, this drawing I didn't like because his haircut looks dumb here. I'm still trying to figure out what I want his hair to look like. He has a bowl cut. I don't really super like it. He's had like some iteration of a bowl cut for so long, and I'm just like tweaking it slightly, and I'm like, I don't know if he works with a bowl cut, so I have to figure out what I want his hair to look like. Honestly, you guys, I have no idea. This is a comic of my OCs, Cricket and Kamau. They also exist in that universe where they're maybe college students, maybe they're werewolves. This is just a comic of them hanging out, and it's hot outside. And I have Cricket dressed in like winter clothes all the time. I don't know why I do that. I think originally I was just like, I have a design sort of philosophy like in my brain where I'm just like, everybody's like fully clothed, like from head to toe, just covered in cloth. I don't know why I do that. And so I was like, isn't this guy hot all the time? It's the middle of fucking summer. So I just wanted to draw him taking off his shirt and just come out as being thirsty about it, but he's trying to hide it like it's too tsundere. So like a tsundere. I don't think he is a tsundere. Honestly, I feel like eventually when he realizes he has feelings for Cricket, he like goes for it. I feel like Kamau's the kind of guy who goes for whatever he wants, honestly. But it's fun to like figure out what kind of dynamics you want. I feel like you only know what kind of dynamics you want your characters to have when you figure out which ones you don't want them to have, you know what I mean? More of that persona. I'm still working on her. She's got a crop top and high-rise pants now, but they're baggy at this point in the story. I mean, at this point in my design journey for her, but I don't think it stays like that. Drawing of Kira for when she was in high school. This is a redraw of a comic that I did, but I didn't finish it. Usually when I don't know what to draw, I try to redraw stuff, but it was not really working for me at this point. But I colored this one this time with markers. Don't super love the way markers look on this paper, and I never have. So I usually don't use markers in here, but they take fountain pens really good. Drawing a Valentine, who's also from that Werewolf Slash College story. I realized I hadn't drawn him for a while. And then also in that story, he's supposed to be a seer. He's supposed to like see the future. And so this is him predicting someone's gonna die. Drawings of Kira. This is when I kind of sort of changed Kira's design a little bit. So originally Kira had her hair all the way slicked back. And then I was like, what if I give her a little bang? And so now she has a little bang. These were the first drawings that I did of her, and then I did this one where she had like a little bang. I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. And so I did the rest of them, and now she just has that little bang now instead of having her hair slicked backwards. It's now kind of like swooped to the side, and I think she looks cuter now. It's a small change, but it's a change. These are swatches of acrylic gel pens. So they're gel pens, but they're acrylic paint, and this is the only thing I've done with them so far. Well, technically this right here. They're very small, so it takes a long time to fill in space. And I am a lazy bastard, and I don't want to take time to do that, so I have a bunch of gel pens I have to use. More drawings of that persona. I'm getting closer to what I want her to look like. Another little comic of Kamau and Cricket. You guys can pause to read that. I think this is the last time you see him in the sketchbook, because after this, I think it's pretty much only Nick and Kira, because I decided I was going to lock in and try to figure out what I wanted their story to be, and so that kind of put me in the mindset, and so it's all Nick and Kira and the cast from their story, I think, after this point. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, right here. I immediately lied to you guys. I'm so sorry. I have a little bit of hope and not hope, sorry. I have a little bit of scum and dirt and trash in this. This is a redraw of a comic that I did, just like a short comic. I wanted to figure out how I would panel it. I don't really super love the panels because they're a little bit off. Like this one is like up, like the top part does not line up with the bottom part here. It's kind of weird. And I don't super love the drawings either, but I was just trying to like bring in some passion or some feeling for this sketchbook because I was struggling, you guys. That's dirt, trash, and scum. And like I said, they're all serial killers who live in the same house. Anyway, that's a little comic you guys can read. This basically, I mean, you can read it. He's just murdering a detective. Anyway, this is where I get into like the Kira and Nick of it all, where I needed to have a design for Kira's brother, Kane. He has a pretty prominent part in the story. He sort of kind of acts as the main antagonist for Kira's half of the plot. Nick has his own antagonists, right? But Kira's main antagonist is her brother, Kane. And he needed a design because this is what he used to look like. And I thought he looked so boring. And he didn't really look like Kira at all. And I was like, they're brother and sister, they should look alike. So I worked on his design a little bit, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted him to look like. I wanted Kira to be kind of taller than him, because Kane's story, it's not that he's like weak and frail, it's just like in comparison to Kira, he's sort of kind of never really measured up. And so I wanted that to show kind of like in their physical appearance, and the way that he carries himself. And so because Kane was kind of passed over to being the next head of the family, he's kind of like fallen into like a more slovenly, lazy sort of lifestyle. And so before he like gets Kira out of the way, like marries her off so he can take over the family, he kind of presents as like a very lazy sort of person. And so he wears like really baggy clothes. He's kind of got like a messy haircut type thing. That's what I wanted for him. Anyway, so I was trying to design what I wanted him to look like and trying to put thoughts into what I wanted him to look like. So his eye shape, it took me a long time to figure out what I wanted his haircut to be. I was thinking about a wolf cut, and then I was like drawing it. I was like, that's ugly. And then I did this one, and where I'm like, okay, I like his bangs, but I don't really like the rest of it. And then finally I settled on this one. But eventually even this haircut sort of kind of changes a little bit because I don't really like the parts at the ends and like the way that his hair kind of like spikes out on the sides. I fixed that later. But yeah, so that's how I worked on Kane's design. I did this before the other page because the next part where I actually finalize this design is on the page after this, but I was backfilling things. I was going back and forth in the sketchbook for some reason. More pens that I bought, and this is when I got into fountain pens. So I have a couple of fountain pens at this point. I think I have 4. I have a lot more after this. You'll see later on, but I have 4 at this point, and so I was swatching out the gel pens that I bought, and these are the fountain pens that I have, and different fountain pen inks that I bought to go with them. This is me still trying to figure out a design for Nick. I hate all these drawings. Some of them get a little bit closer. I decided I kind of wanted him to have like a frog sort of look to his face, if that makes sense. I feel like it doesn't super make a lot of sense, but that's sort of the kind of the vibe I'm going for him, is I kind of want him to look Oh my gosh, you guys, just completely realized that I had my microphone so far away. Probably had trouble hearing what I was saying. So sorry about that. It's closer now. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, yeah, so basically I'm trying to figure out what I want Nick to look like at this point. I decided that I wanted him to have sort of a bit more of a frog-like appearance, just because I think that's fun, and I feel like it's nice when the guy is a little bit ugly. I know the whole point of him was he was supposed to be like a pretty boy player type guy, but I was actually writing through the story. I was like, I don't like that actually, and so it kind of changed his personality to where a little bit of a frog like appearance makes more sense. And so yeah, he looks like a little frog guy now, but not like super a lot like a frog, but a little bit like a frog. So this is me trying to figure out how I want him to look. This is when I finalized Kane's design. This is what I decided was the final, but I tweak it a little bit after this. So it's Kane and Kira. I think that they look like they're siblings. I'm pretty sure. I just wanted to see them sitting next to each other to see if they read as siblings, and I think that they do. And then I drew a little comics of them just so I could get the vibe of what I wanted their dynamic to be like. So currently it's Kira wants him dead, and Kane is sort of kind of unbothered by it. So them in their get along shirt, them playing Monopoly. I like this drawing of Kane, and this is what I figured out I didn't want those like spiky things at the bottom, and I want to like smooth out the sides for his hair. There's some more Kane in this sketchbook. I want to draw Kane more because I'm trying to figure out his personality a little bit more because, like I said, he is like the main antagonist, and I also have to figure out his minion. He's got a minion. He's not really a minion. He's kind of a minion, but also not really a minion. But I kind of want to figure out what that guy looks like, and I have not designed him yet at all. This drawing of Kira, she looks weird, but like in a fun way, I think. More trying to figure out what I want Nick to look like. This one looks like Frodo Baggins, and I don't like it. And so this is technically a comic that's supposed to go together, but they have two different appearances, so it doesn't make sense. But it's supposed to be like at the beginning of like their relationship, they both think the other one looks weird, and by like later on in the story, they both like decide like, oh, they're actually kind of cute. This is more Nick's, and then this is eventually the one that I settled on. But also, that's not the one that I settled on. Initially, it's the one I settled on, and then I went to this one, and I was like, oh no, he looks too much like Duke. And then I moved to this one where he has beady little eyes, and I was like, oh my god, he's so cute. And so this is actually the one that he looks like now. He looks wonky as hell here because this is the first time I figured out the way I wanted him to look. And so throughout the sketchbook, he settles into the way he looks a little bit more, thankfully. And so yeah, he went from this to looking like this, and I feel like that's a very different vibe. But it's a vibe that I like, I think. So this is them with their high school designs. I figured out the high school design I wanted him to have a lot sooner than the one that I wanted him to have as an adult. This isn't an AU, so this is not like canon or anything, but I knew I wanted the spiky hair. And then this is when I said I like the beady eyes. I couldn't really figure out a hairstyle for the older version. I was like, can he just have the spiky hair for his whole life? And I'm like, no, that's stupid. I hate when they do that in stories where like they have the same haircut as a kid as they do as an adult. That doesn't really super happen a lot. I mean, some people have same haircut their whole life, but like, let's be honest, people experiment and change their styles and stuff. Like my hairstyle is pretty similar to what it was like when I was younger, but that's just because I'm lazy. Before, when I was a kid, I had like a slick back braid, and now since I'm older, I have a slick back ponytail because I don't like having long hair. Like that's the only difference, but it's still a different hairstyle technically. So I just feel like that's weird. So I was like, no, he can't have the spiky hair through his whole life. So I was trying to figure it out. But yeah, this is high school AU stuff where if they had met each other in high school. This is more of that high school AU of them just doing cutesy stuff together. This is what I decided was what he looked like. Like I said, he does look pretty wonky here because I'm still trying to figure out how I want him to draw him. This Kira is pretty much selling with what she's gonna look like, but I'm still like finessing the details pretty much of what Nick looks like. So these are some redraws of some old little drawings I did of them just to see what their new looks together look like. I feel like they look better together than the other guy did, I'll be honest. More redraws so I can settle into drawing Nick. He's got two pupils here because originally his eye was too close to the center, and I feel like it should have been more to the side because he's like looking back at Kira in the situation. Also, I redrew this with Kane because now like, oh, now I know what Kane looks like. So yeah, Kane, Nick, little comic. More Kane and Kira. A redraw of another comic that I like, a short little comic that I had with Kane and Kira with her subordinates. Her subordinates also get a little bit of redesign. Not so much Diana. I'm still currently trying to figure out what I want Diana to look like, but Lex gets a redesign in here that I like a lot better than the way she looks right now. More Kira and my new Nick design. more of a high school AU with them. These are just redraws of stuff that I've done before. I was in a slump, and so when I don't know what to draw, I redraw stuff. And I needed to figure out how I wanted his new design to look anyway, how I was going to draw it, how it felt just to draw it. And so this was good for that. This is them in bunny outfits. I realized I've drawn like almost every OC I have in bunny outfits except for Nick and Kira. And so I had to fix that, you guys. I had to remedy that. So Nick and Kira in bunny outfits. Trying to retool Tulio and Umar, which are Nick's subordinates. So Tulio looks a little bit different. He used to just have a shaved head, and now he still kind of has a shaved head, but it's grown out a little bit more. And even the more I draw him, even now, he gets like, his hair gets a little bit longer, which I'm trying to avoid because I feel like if it gets too long, it'll look like Cricket, and I don't want him to look like Cricket. I want him to look like his own person. I changed his story a little bit. It says he's edgy now because he is a little bit edgier than he was before. Before he was kind of like fun-loving, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, who was like happy to like be Nick's subordinate, and now he's like not happy to be his subordinate, and I'll kind of just leave it at that. And now they're cousins. They were not cousins before, but now they're cousins because I was like, it's kind of weird. They work in the mafia, and like they have I don't talk about anybody else in the actual family, and so I decided that they're cousins. More inks that I got for my fountain pens, and I also got more fountain pens to go with them because I have a problem. You guys. So yeah, just testing out more inks. I like these. These are cute. And I also got my first stub nib. You guys, I love stub nibs for fountain pens. Basically, it's just like a wide nib, and basically it just means the downstrokes are thicker and the side strokes are thinner. They're okay for drawing, but I really like them for writing, and I've been writing on paper for Nick and Kira because every time I tried to write with them on like typing, I get like distracted by my phone and stuff, and it's like hard for me to think, and it was easier for me to think on paper, and so been having a lot of fun with that. So yeah. More drawings. These are like little more comics. I'm trying to figure out the dynamics between Nick, Kira, and the subordinates, and so this is a dynamic. This is where Tulio likes to make them mad at each other because at this point in the story they are kind of like still hating each other. So yes, it's a fun little comic. Just showing that Tulio's new personality is that he's a little shit. This is a random drawing of a lady. This is a Regency AU. It's been a while since I've gotten into like really drawing a lot of AUs for my characters. So I was like, let's get back into it. And that's how you know I'm like a little bit inspired. Is when I'm like, AU, throw an AU on it. I love an AU, you guys. And so in this AU, it's a Regency AU where she is like the daughter of a crime syndicate. The same, but it's a little bit different in where Nick is now like a nobleman. And so his cousin's like, don't get involved with her. She's bad news. And he's like, I like bad news, unfortunately. I feel like for Nick and Kira, the reason they don't like each other in canon is because they're kind of forced to be together. And I feel like if they had met each other in any other circumstances, I think they would have fallen in love. Or at least that's the propaganda I'm giving myself. And so every time I put them in an AU where they don't have to like be forced together, they're immediately like, oh, I want to be with this person. It's not like love at first sight, but like both of them just find someone that I feel like they can kind of not like relate to in a way, but like they're like, there's like a vibe that they're like drawn to each other in different stories where they're not forced together. And so I feel like that's how they end up together in other stories. So I think it's really funny that in the canon story, the only story where they don't get to choose to be together, they hate each other. I just think that's funny. This is them liking each other in this Regency AU. Me trying to come up with different haircuts for Umar, and I don't like any of them. Umar is giving me so much trouble, you guys. I'm like, I like his spiky wigs, but I'm like, I don't know if that fits for like a mafioso who is like trying to be taken seriously in the mafia, because that's Aaron's whole thing is like he shaved his hair because they were like being like assholes about it, like the old school mafia guys. And so I feel like if Umar is trying to like conform to that sort of idea of an old school mafioso guy, I don't know if he would have those wigs, but also I really don't want to get rid of them because I think they look cute. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with Umar. I'm really struggling. What if Kira was a mafia maid? This is an AU where if, instead of Kira being married off to be Nick's wife, she was sold off to be a maid. She like hates him in this AU still, but since he's no longer forced to be with her, he's like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. So it works both ways. So if one of them is forced to be with the other one, they hate the other one. If the other one's not forced, they like the other one, which I feel like is, Anyway, more high school AU. Originally, when I drew their first meeting, it was just sort of kind of like this thing, and this was before I had designs, I think, for Tulio and Umar, so I didn't really draw the reaction to him being married off at 16, which is crazy. This is me drawing the reactions to it with his new look. I just like him so much, you guys. I think he's so cute now. Just him reacting to how Kira looks, even though she looks a little bit weirder in high school, but he has no room to talk. He's not exactly the most handsome man. Anyway, more of this high school AU because I was, once I got to the high school AU, I was like locked in. And so this comic is like 4 pages. I'll take time. I'll like set more time aside for you guys to read it because it is a very long comic. But the basic premise for this one is, even though they're engaged, they're not like dating. So Nick has like a crush on somebody else, and Kira's like, oh, you shouldn't have a crush on her because she's just using you for your money. The two of them do go to a private school in this AU because I feel like when you are like a mafia guy, you always like give your kids like the best or whatever, like send them like to private schools because you have a lot of money. But other people at the private schools are like, ew, they're like criminals and stuff, and so like people look down on them and whatever. And so in the AU, like Nick has a good social standing within the school because he has a lot of money, but people don't like him because he is the son of a mafia guy, right? And so he's like, this girl finally has a crush on me. Just because you don't like me doesn't mean that she doesn't like me, because again, they're forced together, so they don't like each other in this. But she's like, hey, I didn't mean like that. But anyway, he goes to like prove that the girl likes him, and it turns out she is just using him for his money. And he's like, oh, and then he's sad about it. And then Kieran's like, oh, she made you sad. And so she goes to find the girl, and she's like angry. And there she is, like, not really beating her up. She's just holding her by her hair. I think the first drawing I did of her being held by her hair is probably the best one. And then the other ones makes it look like she's like got a little bit of a looser hold. I prefer this one because it's much closer to like the base of her head, which makes it feel like tighter, which is a crazy thing to say, but I feel like it conveys what I want Kira to be feeling in that moment where she's like really snatching her up. And then at the end of the comic, she's like, okay, maybe I was a little bit jealous of you having a crush on somebody else. And he's like, oh, that's nice. So they kind of like each other. They learn to like each other, just like in the main story. They learn to like each other. More redraws of Nick and Kira. Just me settling into their newer designs. Their original design, their second design, which I thought was going to be their final design, but it wasn't. Now they have a third design. Hopefully this one will be the final one, but who knows. Another redraw of like an old comic I did. I tried to make an ink wash with one of the bottles of ink that I had. I didn't use the whole bottle, obviously, because that would be crazy. But I don't think I added enough water because the ink wash is still pretty light. Still pretty dark, and I wanted it to be lighter. But that's okay. This is me putting them together. Nick is way too tall here, I'll be honest. I wanted to be a bit shorter. So, yeah. But this is what they look like together. Again, the girls look a little too short here. I feel like they're a little bit more condensed. I drew the boys a little bit bigger because I drew the girls first, and then for some reason my brain was like, draw the guys bigger. I like the way Umar looks in this one, but I have so much trouble drawing his hair. You guys, it's like kicking my ass. This is a little comic of Nick and Kira. This actually takes place at the end of the story. I'm not covering it up because nothing in this sketchbook is definitive. I'm just like going through ideas, trying to figure out what I want. I do have the ending of the comic in mind already, so that's just why I'm drawing out ideas for the for like the last chapter. But basically, this is like they're fighting some random people. It doesn't matter. It would make more sense in the story. And Nick and Kira are fighting also because they had like a fallout or some bullshit. Anyway, she's like, I hate you. I've hated you the whole time. I think you're stupid and pathetic and you can't even lead a family to save your life. And I hate you, right? And he's like, well, then why did you come back? Because she had left and she came back. And she's like, because I'm in love with you. And so I kind of like that, but also I kind of don't like that because it's like kind of cliche. And so we'll see what I do. This is more of Kane and Kira. This is a potential ending for their story where she kills him. Again, I'm not entirely sure what I want the ending to be, which is why I don't mind showing you guys these because they're not spoilers because none of this is canon. This is a lot of drawings of Kane throwing up, which is plot relevant. I draw a lot of drawings of Kane throwing up, not so much in this sketchbook. I think I draw it a couple more times. It's not because I like to draw people throwing up. It's because it's part of his character. And I feel like it makes me look weird, but I promise it's plot relevant. I need to practice. More drawings of my boy Nick. A little comic of Nick and Kira having a drinking contest. Another comic. I'm just trying to figure out their new dynamic because his personality did change a bit, and so I'm trying to figure out what I want their interactions to be like. And so a lot of my comics are just trying to figure out those. This was supposed to be her holding him as like a little chibi guy, but I fucked up the face, so it looks stupid and I hate it. Another comic. This is a comic where once again they are not forced to be together, but their families do like start working together anyway, and like more of like a partner capacity, like an ally capacity, without being like actually like marrying into the family, and so she has to go there to like talk about negotiations for trade and whatever. And he ends up being like, oh, she's beautiful, and like he doesn't fall in love with her, but he does have an infatuation with her at first sight. And she's like, what the hell, this guy likes me, that's insane. And so she also develops a sort of infatuation for him, but she's like, ew, no, I don't want it, I don't want anybody to like me. And so she's like running away from it, and he's like always chasing her. Again, this is an AU. And this is just her being like, ew, no, he can't like me. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm only used to people who are like trying to cheat me and steal from me and stuff like that. I can't deal with someone who's genuine. And so, yeah, that's just what this little comic is about. It's got more Diana and Lex, but this is before I figure out what I want them to look like. There's more Lex towards the end of the sketchbook where I figure out what I want her appearance to be. Some trash and dirt. I was drawing dirt because I'm not 100% settled on his design either. I don't really like the way that I draw him. And so I was trying to draw him a little bit more so I could feel him out. And so I drew this little comic. First I drew this, and then I drew him getting rid of a body. Like I said, they're all serial killers, and so they have to do body disposal. And so this is just a comic of him taking out the trash. But then the character trash comes, and he's like, I want to go through the trash to make sure you're not throwing away any good stuff. And there's like a hand in there, which draws so many questions. Like, where was he going to throw this garbage away if there's like a whole human hand in it? Like, was this going out in the regular bin? Wouldn't somebody find that in the regular trash? I mean, it's a good thing that Trash, the character, went through it then, so he could take that and make sure there's no other body parts in there. But yeah, whatever. He's gonna eat it because he's a cannibal. Anyway, it's not relevant to the comic. But yeah. This is a drawing of Kira. I was trying to figure out what I wanted her to look like in the first chapter, because in the first chapter of the story, again, not a spoiler because this is, like I said, the first chapter, she's going to be at the club where Nick is at, and I need to draw her in like a club-worthy outfit, so I'm exploring what I want it to look like. And then also she beats a bunch of people up, so I wanted to draw her fighting people, but I really just do this one time. This is after the whole fight thing, this little comic, and then this is just some random little comics. I wanted Kira to kind of have a title, because Nick's title from the other guys is boss because he's the future boss, but I wanted Kira to have a title too. And so currently I'm trying out princess, because when I want them to refer to her, like I can't refer to both him and her as the boss, right? And so when I want people to refer to her as a title, I'm thinking of princess because she technically is a mafia princess. And so I'm thinking of princess, but I'm not sure if I like it. I'm testing it out. I was trying to test out this ink to see if I liked it. I don't super like this orange, but so I just drew a comic of Kira smoking for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't like smoking, and so I tend not to draw my characters smoking, but I figure that just because I don't like smoking doesn't mean other people don't, and I had to remember to put other people's experiences in my comics and stuff, so I was like, we'll draw her smoking or something. And this is just a little redraw from like an anime screenshot of Kira and then Nick and Tulio. Like I said, Tulio's hair keeps getting longer, and I'm trying to stop that. Tulio is also much more of a flirt now, and he doesn't just flirt with Diana, which was kind of the way I had it before. Now he flirts with everybody, and I do mean everybody, obviously except for Nick because they're cousins, but literally everybody else that he's not related to is like open game to be flirted with now. And so he's flirting with Kira here, and she's like, don't come over here, I will stab you, basically. Anyway, this is me trying to figure out the dynamic between Umar and Kira. I feel like Kira at the beginning of the story only likes Umar because Umar actually takes the job seriously. She's like, I like you, Umar. You're pragmatic. You're a good guy. And Umar's like, thanks. But eventually I think they become actual friends. I mean, as close to friends as they can be with her being the boss and him being a subordinate. This is just trying to figure out their dynamic. And so they're talking shit about those two. And they're like, oh, they're talking about us. And this was me trying to figure out the dynamic between Nick, Umar, and Tulio, with them being subordinates and him being the boss. So this is just a short joke, basically. Just a very long, short joke. I don't think that would be their dynamic because I don't think that Nick, in the current iteration I have him, would be insecure about his height. I don't think he cares about that. He's like been raised to be like the next head of this mafia family, and so he's like got all this power. I don't think he would give a shit about being short. And so this was just a fun way to figure out that I actually don't want that dynamic, which is what a lot of my comics are. It's just trying to figure out what dynamics I don't want. Drawings of Nick's dad and then Tulio's dad, I decided that they're going to be twins, but I'm not super set on that. I'm not 100% settled on that. Currently, in my brain, they're twins, but I am always willing to change it because I don't super love it. I just trying to make it so that way they look similar to each other and also similar to Nick and Tulio. I feel like Tulio's dad doesn't super look like him because Tulio looks a lot more like his mom. But like I said, I'm still trying to figure out what I want them to look like. This is not 100% the vibe. Also, I made Tulio a lot more cheery the first time. Not Tulio. Alessandro a lot more cheery. Before, Alessandro was not cheery. He was just like kind of like a tough, gruff guy. But I think it's more fun if he's cheery and then he like flips a switch and he's like this. So he's saying, all right, let's remove those fingernails and see if he wants to start talking. So it's like a little bit more unsettling. He's a little bit similar to Kira in that way, where she'll like say things with like a chipper face. But she's saying like some heinous shit. And so I just feel like I wanted to incorporate that into him a little bit too. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100% sure on what I want them to be like yet. This is a little comic idea for the first chapter where she's like, it's nice to meet you, and then it turns out she like beat up everybody. This is a redraw of a little comic idea of where Kira was wearing a crop top, but she's like, that's bad, I'm not gonna expose all my vital organs, but Nick likes the crop top or whatever. More little doodles. I made him way too tall, and I realized I don't really draw them kissing. I don't draw a lot of my romantic couples kissing, but I'm trying to fix that because I feel like it will be relevant in a story that contains romance. So this was me testing out more inks, but I wanted to draw Hope because I have not drawn Hope in forever in the sketchbook at this point. So some drawings of Hope to test out these inks. This is a drawing. This is a little comic of Scum and Trash and Dirt in an AU that I have for them, where they're in high school in the 1950s and they witness a murder. So instead of being murderers, they witness a murder and they're like, what are we supposed to do? What do we do? So they're kind of freaking out. I think it's a very funny difference for them in comparison to them being murderers. Now they're trying to stop a murderer. I just think it's fun. So yeah, this is them freaking out after witnessing the murder. They're not friends in the AU. I mean, they become friends in the AU. So you guys know, I don't know if you guys have watched my other videos, but I've talked about in the past where when for a while, at least in my head, I don't want there to be relationships between Trash, Dirt, and Scum because I don't like the vibe of it when they're all serial murderers. And so I came up with a different trio to like put my OT3 sort of thoughts onto. I don't really draw them though, but I still had like thoughts about them as an OT3. So in the 1950s AU, I feel like it's okay. So they're not friends at the beginning of the 1950s AU, but they are a throuple by the end of it. But it's okay because it's an AU, you guys. It's okay. But in canon, they will never be together. Anyway, it's not the point. Not that I don't even know if I'm gonna draw that comic. It's kind of like it's like a weird format that I have it for in my head, where it's like ask a serial killer anything sort of format. It's like those old school ass blogs on Tumblr, on Tumblr. And so I'm like, I don't even know how I would get started with a comic like that. But yeah. Anyway, not the point. Drawing of Nick in a maid outfit. I was like, well, how would he be like in a maid outfit? And I decided that he would like it. Or he would be like, I've worn worse clothes than this, shorter skirts than this. So yeah, I like my new Nick. He's so cute. I feel like the old Nick would never wear a skirt. And I feel like this one is much better. This is drawing of another mini comic of Trash, Dirt, and Scum in that high school AU. They now have like human names. Trash, Dirt, and Scum are nicknames. They've always had names, obviously, but I didn't know what they were because I just want them to refer to each other as Trash, Dirt, and Scum because they have like no respect for each other as people, which is another reason why they can never date. But now they all have like actual names, so I don't want to refer to them as those names because in the context of the story, I don't want to say they're human names because they're still human, but like they're given names, like they're names that like sort of kind of anchor them to their humanity, don't matter in the story because when they're killing people, right, they're like denying those human aspects of themselves and basically becoming like monster-like, if that makes sense. And monster in the way that a human being can be a monster through acts of like violence and murder and stuff like that. And so I don't ever really want to refer to them as those names. So even though they have like real given names, I feel like they humanize them a bit too much. And so they have names, I'll tell you their names, but I don't like to refer to them as those names. So Scum's name is Gigi, Dirt's name is Nico, and Trash's name is Luca. But like I said, I don't refer to them as those names. Only in AUs where they're not murderers where I ever refer to them in those names because I don't think those names are relevant to them in the story in which they occupy, where they are murderers. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out dynamics for Tulio and Umar, where Tulio, again, is like I said, he flirts with everybody now, and that includes Umar. But Umar's like, no, 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 no. I like men, but I don't like you, so stop. And he's like offended. And this is Nick trying to comfort his cousin. But in this story now, Tulio doesn't like really like Nick, and so he's like, ew. Anyway, next. More ink samples. You guys can look at those if you like. This one's all covered in blue because I was showing my dad, because I have the term in the fountain pen community, I guess, is called pen-nabled, where he also really likes pens and stuff. And so I'll be like, look at all the pens I got, and look at all of the inks I got. And so he really likes this one. But when he was touching it, his hand was wet, and since they're water-based inks, they reactivate with water, and so we got all of my yellow one, but that's okay. He's stolen like 5 pens from me at this point, which I think is good because I don't need that many. But yeah, and every time I show him a pen, he's like, oh, for me? I'm like, no, old man. But yeah, more drawings, just trying to figure out that dynamic between Nick and Kira later on in the story where they actually like each other. This is like way, way, way later on in the story. This would be like last fifth or something. Like for most of the story, they don't have like feelings for each other. That's just way later down the line. But I still think it's fun to explore. Some more Nick and Kira with this ink. I think this ink is so cute, you guys. This is Colorverse Alpha Centauri, I think. I don't know. It's like Alpha CNC. I don't know what that stands for. It's like named after a star. But I think it's cute. It's like a very desaturated sort of blue. I think it's so pretty. Anyway, this is all of the pens that I had currently inked at the time at the beginning of March. As you can see, I've got so many fountain pens now. I have more than this. But these were just the ones that had ink in them. It's like 12 here, you guys. It's way too many. Jesus Christ. This is a redraw of a comic that I did a long time ago of when Kira's subordinates come to visit, and this is just redrawing that with Nick's new appearance, and also I guess Kira's new appearance too, because her appearance has changed since then. And I was trying to figure out different paneling a little bit for that too. This is me trying to figure out the dynamic between Nick and Lex and Diana, just a little bit here. Don't super love it yet, but I'm getting there, I think. More ink swatches. This is when I gave Lex her new appearance. Originally, she had curly hair, and then for some reason I took it away because I guess she looked too close to Scum. But I was like, if I draw the curls in a different way, then she won't look like Scum. And I don't think she looks like Scum, but you guys can tell me if she looks like Scum, because then I'll have to go back to the drawing board and fix her. But I don't think she looks like Scum when I draw her correctly. Sometimes I do fall into the same pattern that I draw Scum in, because I draw Scum so much and she's like embedded in my brain and my hand memory, my muscle memory. I just have to remember I have to make her face longer and her eyes ovals instead of circles, and not to give her the same mouth shape. But I think she does look different from Scum, but let me know if that's not true, you guys. More drawings of Kane, just because I wanted to draw Kane more. I'm still trying to get my muscle memory for Kane also. This is drawings. This is just a little mini comic of Nick and Kira going out for a date night. They don't go out on dates because they're not dating, but I wanted to draw them going on a date night just because, you know, they're going to eventually get married. So it's like we should start to get to know each other. This is just Nick being like, oh, she's not a beautiful woman. She's like cute or whatever. And then she comes out and she is beautiful. And he's like, oh, what the hell? Basically, anyway. Some dynamic between Kira and her subordinates, because I don't really know what they act like together. The more I draw Kira, I draw her a lot more cheery than I really thought that she was, because originally her appearance was like always smiling, but she had like a very kind of serious demeanor and was no nonsense. But now I made her a little bit nonsense, a little silly, even though she's serious about things, but she's a little bit more silly the more I draw her. But I think that's just my sort of kind of humor coming through. I like jokes, and I like to make my characters a little silly. But I think when I get to more of like the meat of the story, she'll be a little bit less silly when she gets to do like more of the serious stuff. Most of my comics are not really, like in my sketchbook, are not really drawing serious stuff. It's mostly drawing jokes. And so everybody appears sillier than they probably will be when I draw like the full thing. And this is Lex and Diana meeting Tulio and Umar, and they're hitting on them. And then Kira's like, don't do that. Don't disrespect my subordinates that way. And they're like, sorry. More little doodles. Just a dynamic where Nick and Kira like each other. He asked her to dance, and she says yes. And they're like, what? Another drawing of Yaya. I wanted to bring back Yaya since it's been so while since I've drawn her, since at the beginning of the book. It's been like 8 months. So I was like, let's draw Yaya. And so I drew Yaya and Kira. I already know what I want Yaya and Kira's dynamic to be, which is where Kira is sort of kind of amused and kind of likes Yaya because she is like a serious fighter. She's very serious about the mafia business. Even though they started out as a gang, she really wants their mafia family to prosper, and Kira likes that. And then Yaya hates Kira. She's like, that woman is dangerous, and I don't like her. I just think that's fun. More ink swatches. If you guys wanted to know what any of these inks look like, this is what they look like on Elo paper. Elo paper is actually really great for fountain pens. Fountain pen ink I found. I don't think all sketchbook paper would be good for fountain pen inks, but Elo paper is actually kind of coated, which is really good for letting the ink sit on the paper, and it actually shows like a lot of the shading and the sheening and the glitter and stuff on this paper. So I feel like I probably will buy another Elo eventually, just because their paper is really great for fountain pens, and I've been drawing with a lot of fountain pens anyway, so it's really good. Some drawings of Zoro. I was trying to test out different nibs and combining different fines with other fines and mediums with mediums and stuff like that, just to see what they look like. But I was drawing, this was after One Piece, the live action season 2 came out, so I wanted to draw Zoro, because Zoro is one of my favorite characters from One Piece. My other favorite character from One Piece is Usopp, but he's a little harder for me to draw, so I just draw Zoro because he's easier. Sorry. But yeah, just, I wanted to draw Zoro. More fountain pen, ink swatches, and then I drew the ones that were my favorites again. And then one big drawing of Kira with a fountain pen because I was trying to use up all that ink because I wanted to clean the pen out. And then these are just Copic marker swatches because I was trying to see which one of my pens were dried out. And once again, there's probably, oh no, there is. I usually don't have anything in the pockets, but I guess I did put something in here. I actually don't remember what this is, so. It's a random drawing I did with stippling for some reason. I think I did this at work with the dot markers. But this drawing is kind of ugly. And now I see why it was banished. Alrighty, friends. That's the end of the sketchbook tour. I have a feeling this is a long video. But that's okay. Like I said last time, I'm not going to make any promises about when my next video will be. If I'm being honest with myself, it'll probably be another sketchbook tour whenever I finish my next sketchbook. But if I'm being hopeful, I hope it will be a video where it's not a sketchbook tour. It's actually something that I drew and I get to show you guys. But I don't know. I will go ahead and show you guys my next sketchbook though. This is my next sketchbook. This one is an Ohuhu marker pad. This is an 8x8, so it's a bit smaller than the other one that I had, which was the Elo 10x10. It's also got less pages because it's special marker bleed through proof paper where it's not supposed to show up on the other side. It doesn't really matter to me if paper is like no show through because I'm going to draw on the other page anyway. I don't care. But if you guys are interested in paper where the marker doesn't bleed through, I guess this would be a good one. I usually don't really like paper where it's no bleed through because I think it makes the markers blend weird. But I bought these a while ago, so yeah, I've already started with it. I don't really have a super ton in here. Drawing of Nick and Kira, and then more drawings of Nick and Kira. This is me trying to figure out what I want Diana to look like. And then that's about it. That's all I have in here so far. But hopefully I'll be able to finish it up and show you guys sometime soon. I'm hoping it doesn't take another 8 months. That's way too long. But the sketchbook is shorter and the pages are smaller, so hopefully it'll only take me 4 months, as long as I don't lose the urge to draw again. But I don't think I will. Hopefully not. Knock on wood. I don't have any wood here, but heaven forbid. Anyway, thank you guys so much for spending this time with me. I know I've been taking really long breaks, but I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me anyway. So I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Bye!